Have you always been a wrestling fan your whole life?
Yeah.
Since you were young, little kid?
And, I'm the only, I actually wrestled a little bit back in the day.
Really?
Hogan got me set up so good. God, I had it so good. What WWE would do is, because I was syndicated in all the, when they just like the NBA, when the WWE, WWF come to a territory, they'll hit they'll do Monday Night Raw in Tampa, then they'll do a house show like in Orlando, and then they would do Friday night in Miami, so they route it, globally,
right.
So that the boys don't have to travel so much. So when Hogan and I were hanging out, Hogan would tell Vince, hey, my best friend, I got trained in wrestling by a guy named Tom Stone in Milwaukee. And so I knew a little bit about wrestling. I'd been trained, I'd been to wrestling school a little bit, because when I was in Milwaukee, this guy named Tom Stone would do these high school shows and get these independent guys, like get Greg the Hammer Valentine for $500 to come in, and he'd do these high school shows where I was the number one rated radio guy in Milwaukee, did Afternoon Drive, and I was a little bit crazy back then, and I had freedoms to talk about what I wanted. So Tom Stone said, well, I'm getting 200 or 300 people to come to these wrestling shows at high schools, but if I had you on the card as the local radio personality, and I would let you win, I'd let you smash the fuck out of everybody, I'd pack it. So I'd be like, well, hell, he goes, well, 6 months, you got to come down and bump, hit the ropes, learn the fucking lingo, learn the philosophy, just learn various things. So I then would be like, Hot 102, WLUM, Bubba the Love Sponge. Don't forget this weekend, this Friday night at Waukesha High School, I'm the main event. I'm taking on the Texas Hangman. That's right. And so then I'd have the Texas Hangman call in and be like, let me tell you something, Bubba, you fat ass. I'm going to take you pillar to post, you short-armed little son of a bitch. You don't have any experience. You're fat. You're stupid. And I'd be like, I'm going to, and we, so we would, all that for like 2 weeks. And then the high school, all the kids would get involved, and the high school football team would sell tickets as a fundraiser, and we would fucking pack the place out, 2,000 or 3,000. Of course, I'd go in there, beat the fuck out of the guy. Guy would do some juice, get some fucking hardway juice, and I'd be the fucking man. So I had some wrestling experience when I came to Tampa. Then I got friends with Hogan, and Hogan tells Vince, hey, my best friend, he knows enough about wrestling that he could be the opening matches at the cities that he's heard in. So I was heard in Jacksonville. I was heard in Orlando. I was heard in Miami. I was heard in Fort Myers. I was heard in Tampa. So when the WWE would come into town, I would be the opening match, the dark match that wasn't on TV. So how they have 2 or 3 matches before TV starts? Well, I would be one of the opening matches. But what WWE got from that was 3-4 weeks of me on the radio every night being like, that's right, this Saturday night I'll be at the Sun Dome taking on the Brooklyn Brawler, and so they would get all of that added value, and then I'd just beat the shit out of the guy.
That's fucking amazing.
The best story of all is, if you're a wrestling fan, is I was in the Sun Dome here in Tampa, which is what's called the Yingling Center now, where USF is, where they play basketball.
Ringling?
No, Yingling.
Yingling.
It's called the Yingling, Yingling beer.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Used to be called the Sun Dome. It fits about 8,000 or 9,000, and it's where USF plays basketball,
Mm-hmm.
So the WWE, WWF was there that night, and Hogan for some reason wasn't there. I forget. I don't know if he had defected yet or what, but Vince was still using me on my cities that I was heard as opening matches. And they'd pay me $500 and they'd put me over. I would win. So I go there that night, and the boys in the locker rooms kind of always resented me because I wasn't one of, I was kind of a guy who got fast tracked into kind of a cool position.
Right.
So, here's some guys that have been around for 10 years doing jobs, and here I am, fucking Johnny Hotshot, roll in with my Louis Vuitton luggage and my fucking hair fucking slicked, and be able to beat these guys that were regular wrestlers. So I was supposed to go. Do you remember the Mean Street Posse? They were Shane McMahon's best friends, or something like that. Well, I was supposed to wrestle them as the opening match. So Pat Patterson And now in wrestling, they have an agent, and him and Jerry Briscoe were the two agents that night, and they kind of run the locker room and they tell who's going to win and whatever. Well, Undertaker, Mark Calloway, lived in Tampa at the time, and it was a house show. Usually Calloway didn't do house shows; he only did big shows. But since it was a home show, he did a favor for Vince, and so the Undertaker was the big guy on the card. Now, if anybody knows anything about wrestling, the Undertaker ran the dressing room. He absolutely was the boss of the boys. He settled all disputes. He was. Even when Hogan was there, Hogan had his own dressing room. After Hogan left and then came back, and Calloway had already established himself that he ran the dressing room, he ran it. Like, he fucking ran the show.
No way.
So we're in the back, and Patterson doesn't know that I'm as popular in Tampa as I am. He thinks I'm just some local fucking radio guy, and this is some bullshit gimmick. So we're in there, and Patterson's like, okay, here's what's going to happen, Bubba. Briscoe's going to feed you. Jerry's going to come in, get outside distraction. Mean Street Posse's going to come in, hit you over the head with a fucking chair. You're going to get dazed. You're going to try to make a comeback. They're going to scoop slam you, roll you into a schoolboy. 1, 2, 3, we're gone. And I go, okay. I mean, I'm losing at that point, okay. But I'm just happy to be part of the fucking deal. I'm in a WWE ring in my own hometown in front of 10,000 people. Bubba the Love Sponge from 98 Rock. It's good promotion for me. Whether I win or lose, who gives a fuck?
Right.
So that's the way it is. Calloway goes, nope. And I was like, I was always really respectful to Mark. Like, I was, like super cool to him. And he lived in Tampa, so Mark knew how popular I was in Tampa, right? And so Calloway goes, hey, Patterson, let me ask you a question. So we're going to go ahead and bury, and when you get beat that fast, it's called you're burying a guy.
Okay.
Like you're burying
right.
him. He goes, so Pat, let me just see if I get this straight. We're going to bury a guy that spent 3 weeks on promoting this show, that's probably put 2,000 or 3,000 extra asses in the seat tonight, and we're going to bury him in front of his own hometown when this is just a house show. It's not on TV. We're not making any of our wrestlers look bad because nobody's going to see it except for the 7,400 people here. And we're going to bury this guy in front of his own hometown when he's busted his ass. Pat Patterson, without missing a beat, goes, you know what, Bubba, you're going to go off the second rope after you give him a double clothesline. Jerry, you're going to try to kick Bubba. Bubba's going to shoot you off into a schoolboy. Watch for the double boot. Bubba, you're going over. And I turned to Calloway, and he goes, it's business, man. It's business. It's about doing business, and that's what makes the most boy, the Mean Street Posse were so mad. They went from giving me a double clothesline and beating me to me going off the second and smashing them, and that's my fucking wrestling story.
That's fucking incredible.
All because The Undertaker said no. That we're not burying a guy in his own home fucking town who's busted his ass for us. We're not doing that. Now, if it had been on TV and it would been, where people could see that it's a regular jobber off the fucking streets is now beating an accomplished WWE guy, that's different. But it was a house show, and I was the opening match.
Right,
So that's.
And you've done all that promoting and everything like that. And
you're
such
for
a
3
staple
weeks.
in the
And be like,
community.
and I had the Mean Street Posse call me up, be like, you're a fat ass. It's going to take 2 of us just to match your fat ass, and and all that. I'll back and forth. And, they got probably $30,000 of free promotion, from me that you can't even put a value on outside of their commercials.
Dude, I mean, fucking wrestling fans have such a bad rap. They have such a stigma. Like, I used to think that wrestling fans were such fucking losers before, and then I went to fucking WrestleMania. I went to my first wrestling event ever. It was the New Orleans one, maybe 4 years ago, and they are the coolest,